This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
Drive to deep center field. Going back, Hernandez at the track, right to the wall. Gone! Elvis Andrews!
And 29 other MLB clubs.
High drive, deep left field. El Nino left the building.
Guerrero lifts one to left field and gone.
Sonny, that was a moonshot out there in the right center.
Alonso defends his title, the 2021 Derby champion.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from OPS Plus to juiced balls to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to A's Cast Live. We got a great show for you leading into the Athletics against the Guardians. I just realized today's Thursday. That off day has thrown me off. So we got a 4-game set against the Guardians.
True, then there's another off day on Monday before we take on the Sox.
Before that horrific Sunday Peacock game at like 5 in the morning we got to play.
Yeah, it's really early. What is it, 7:35 pregame start?
Oh, my God. Like, I was looking at that going, really? Folks, I love my job, and I love working. But is there any reason that I should be on at 7:35 in the morning for a major league? This is not morning radio. Like, we're not doing the morning zoo here on A's Gas Live.
That's early.
Yeah, 7:30. I mean, I've done morning radio on KMBR and 95.7 The Game over the years.
We both have done it.
It's horrible. What the hell am I? Sunday morning at 7:35? Are you kidding me? Like, I don't know why I'm starting the show like this, but why would Peacock? Why? I'm going to switch my mic.
It's very early, I will say that. And I'm not used to a 7:35 pregame or an 8:35 first pitch, although a few weeks ago, the Pirates played on that Peacock game that early, but that's easy for them on the East Coast. That's normal time. Well,
that's my question. Why would they have West Coast teams playing the Peacock game if it's early in the morning? I mean, it makes no 8:35. That's 12:35 East Coast times. It should be all East Coast teams. That you're trying to tell me there's not East Coast teams playing each other on Sunday?
It's 11:35 East Coast.
11:35. Like 11:35. Like, why would you put West Coast teams and you're taking their fan bases and telling them, get up? Hey, I know you got to go to church, but you got to get up 8:35 in the morning for first. It's ridiculous.
Can you imagine from Hawaii? That's 5:35 in the morning, Hawaii.
Fact. What if I'm on vacation in Hawaii?
And I want to watch the A's play the Guardians.
I'm sitting in Maui, and I'm looking for my A's, and I'm like, I got to get up at 5. What time?
First pitch will be 5:35 Hawaiian, because they're 3 hours behind us.
Stupid. Howard Bryant, longtime columnist. I mean, he's worked for ESPN. He worked here in the Bay Area for years.
Covered the A's. Yep.
He is going to join us coming up here at 1:30 as he has a new Ricky Henderson book. Can you turn up my headphones?
Yeah.
That will be at 1:30. At 2 o'clock, he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time. You can make a case. I don't care, you Mariano Rivera honks.
I think we have to do that again today, maybe.
You could make a case. Raleigh Fingers is the greatest reliever of all time. The Hall of Famer is going to join us at 2 o'clock. We taped this last Saturday when we were honoring the 1972 team. I was very honored to be able to do the MC duties as we were having a special season ticket holder, I guess, Q&A with the World Series champs, and it was great to be a part of it. And I got to sit down with Raleigh Fingers. That will be at 2 o'clock. And then one of the great broadcasters in our game swung on and belted. He's got all kinds of great home run calls. Tom Hamilton of the Guardians also. Last time I checked, he was still doing Big Ten Network stuff. Is he still doing Big Ten?
Let me check.
Calling games on Big Ten Network, which was the original network in college sports. And let me tell you something. Big Ten schools have made a lot of money off the Big Ten Network. That means every school, you could be a dog on fleas. You could be, no offense, Illinois, in Champaign, Illinois, and your football team hasn't been good since forever, and you still get that big paycheck. Indiana, yeah, I'm looking at you. You still get that big check each. At one point,
They were good a couple of years ago.
Remember hoops, everything equates to this. But at one point when they first started out, it was fascinating. Every Big Ten team got like a check for like $40 million. Here you go. That was at the beginning. I mean, who knows what they're getting now each year? Like the SEC network, what they're getting, what Texas makes off their own network. I mean, these college teams print money like you wouldn't believe how much money. I mean, Ohio State, what they make off their athletic department dwarfs professional sports. It's crazy. It's crazy. Just plain crazy. It's funny, Bill Keene once said.
It's funny you mention that because it says on here, Hamilton calls college basketball games, and in parentheses, usually Ohio State games for the Big Ten network.
Gotta ask if he's still doing that. And I want to, because I'm telling you, having been in Big Ten country and knowing how, I mean, people, it's not like the Pac-12. No offense to David Feldman, our good friend Roxy Bernstein, and everybody else at the Pac-12 network. Nobody cares about what's going on at the Pac-12 network. In the Midwest, they all watch it. They love it. You know, college sports in the Midwest and the Southeast is a whole different ballgame. But what are we talking today? We're talking Howard Bryant at 1:30, Raleigh Fingers at 2 o'clock, Tom Hamilton at 2:30. I've got to get this off my chest because, yes, I was just at the gym, and I know, so at our club, the San Jose Swim and Racket Club, basically I'm like the youngest guy. Everybody there is – Mark Canna's parents are still members there. I'm like the youngest guy, except when the kids are there to swim. For the people who work out, I'm like by far the youngest guy.
That's I don't know if I want.
It's very old school.
I don't know if I want to brag about that or not.
It's very old school.
Yeah,
it's very old, and it looks it. I always know when I'm the last one to be at this one television because we can change the TVs because I'm the only one that puts MLB Network on. So, you know, like I'll work out after the game. Like last night after post game, I went and worked out. So when I arrived there earlier today, when I know it hasn't been changed to soap operas, because normally it's on soap operas because of the older ladies who work out in the morning before me. There's jazzercise going on. They got pool aerobics going on. Like I said, I'm by far the youngest guy. When I know when MLB Network is still on, I was the last one to touch that television. So who was on the south side of Chicago today, Commander?
I should know.
Not just the White Sox, of course they would be there. Taking on a team. They still have a lead in their division. They're pretty popular.
Oh, the Yankees.
Their lead is only a game and a half.
Not the Yankees. Game and a half.
Yeah, they got some good players. Pretty big market. They travel real well.
I don't know why I'm blanking on this.
The Los Angeles Dodgers,
Dodgers.
You may have heard of them.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I keep forgetting they're playing an interleague series right now.
So they're taking on the White Sox on the south side. Did you know that the Dodgers, because it had to have been, so I can't hear the volume. The closed captioning's on, but I can't hear the volume. So I'm watching this game. And this day in Dodger history came up, and I don't know, something happened in Brooklyn on this day way back when. But did you know that the Dodgers, this is what's great about the history of our game, is everything has just changed over the years, and the history is so long. Did you know they used to be called the Trolley Dodgers?
I never knew that.
Because of the trolley in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I never knew that.
No clue. And I'm like, I'm on the pre-court, and I'm like watching this, and I'm like, that's interesting. You know, you think about their history, Brooklyn, training in Vero Beach in Florida, making the move out in 58 with the Giants out west, and everything that's changed in Los Angeles. You know, the second largest city in the country. You're talking about a premier market. For us in the radio and streaming business, LA's king. They have the most cars in the United States of America. That's why you can talk about being big in New York, but really, in our industry, the biggest is Los Angeles because there's more cars and more radios now. Things have changed, obviously, because everybody, like what we're doing, streaming and podcasts and downloading and all of that. But, yeah, watching the Dodger game today, they were the Trolley Dodgers.
Are they that game going on right now? Or are they playing?
This game's going on as we speak.
Wow. I never knew that about the Charlie Dodgers. That's interesting. When you told me you had something for me, I thought, oh boy, here we go. Some stat that I like that you found, that you saw, how you're going to shoot holes in it. Or
I mean, I've been shooting holes in all your stats, and you have no defense. And you know what the sad thing is? I'm not a math guy. I'm really not an analytics guy. I follow it, but they're so easy to pick apart now because all the guys who argue are friends, like on MLB Now, all they argue with their analytics is outlier players. Well, look, Manny Machado. Well, the majority of guys aren't Manny Machado. By the way, guess who had an RBI yesterday and the ball was a bloop?
Not Manny Machado?
Big Murph. Yes, Big Murph can't hit his weight, and all you hear about is how hard he hits the ball, but he's just unlucky. Hey, little blooper to center with runners on. He didn't strike out. He actually made contact, put the ball in play. What happened?
Run scored.
A run scored. Hit them where they ain't. I love using Rod Carew right now because over the weekend I heard Raleigh Fingers and Daryl Knowles say Rod Carew was the worst guy. Was Rod Carew? Did Rod Carew have a good career?
I believe he's in the Professional Baseball Hall of Fame.
He's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if that was where you're going.
No, he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Let's see. He had a 81.2 WAR. That's pretty good.
Wait a minute. Rod Carew is not going to go down as a guy who hit the ball harder than everybody else in his generation.
92 home runs career.
But just hard hit rate, barrel percentage. I guess his barrel percentage would be very good.
It doesn't go back that far.
But his metrics wouldn't be of today. We're talking about how hard Aaron Judge and Giancarlo and Manny, how hard they hit the ball. How does he have such a high WAR if he didn't hit the ball as hard as other guys?
Because he got on base other ways and just trying to hit home runs and hit the ball hard. Let's see. 1 year he led 2 different years. He led the league in triples. It looks like every year he had about 25 to 30 doubles. He never really hit a lot of home runs. The most home runs he ever hit in his career in a season was, wait for it, 14.
How does he have such a high WAR? How? How's that possible? How does a guy who just hit the ball in play where the defenders weren't, kind of what the game's all about, how does he have such a high WAR? And I got a bunch of guys who supposedly hit the ball hard, and their WAR is not going to be what his is. Do I need to bring up Wade Boggs? Do I got to bring up Tony Gwynn? How do they hit the ball all over the yard where the defense isn't and collect such a analytic as WAR? It's so high versus I can find a ton of guys. Oh, you know who hits the ball hard? Oh my God. He is just so unlucky. Is Christian Pache. I've been hearing that this guy, Martin Gallegos wrote about it. Our own Jessica Kleinschmidt has talked about it. Everybody's talking about how do you know what his career WAR is for a guy that hits the ball so hard?
It's negative, I'm pretty sure.
Negative 1.5.
That's not good. No, he's small sample size.
Okay.
233 career bats.
Okay. Let's do your buddy Shawn Murphy.
But hey, he's in the 69th percentile of
hits the ball hard. Hits the ball hard. Shawn Murphy, he's hitting the ball really hard this year, right? That's what, I mean, even to talk about our good friends, and I know their job is to sell the broadcast, but Dallas Braden's going to tell you he's hitting the ball hard. He's unlucky. That's a 0.1 WAR.
Yeah.
This Murph hits the ball so hard? Is his WAR ever going to get up to what Rod Carew was at 80 what?
No.
No?
But hey, he's in the 95th percentile for max exit velocity.
95. He's hitting 202, but he hits the ball harder than it. It's a load of crap. You're selling me crap. Are you going to tell me now I get steak knives with it? How about that glue that can make it stick and everything works? Or
is that Gorilla Glue?
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, I'm doing what's the chamois towel? What else are you selling me next for $19.99? This is the worst sales job of all time. I don't give a crap what your exit velocity is. Hit the ball in play where the defenders aren't. And then you know what? I won't have to bring up these numbers. Well, but is anybody wondering, like, Ramon Laureano right now? Ramon Laureano, and good on Ramon. Ramon now has a 12-game hitting streak. Did you know that is the best hitting streak in baseball?
I didn't. I remember you mentioning it the other day, but I think that was before either Trey Turner or Goldschmidt lost theirs.
Goldschmidt still has his on base streak.
Yeah, it's like 41 or 42 games now, I think, for Goldschmidt.
I'll tell you exactly. It's 44 games.
Wow.
You're really close. 44 straight games Paul Goldschmidt has got on base. But if I use Goldschmidt right now, that's an outlier, right? He's the best. What's the point of using the best against hundreds of guys? I don't understand that. Is that how you'd run your business?
You want to compare the law of averages. I would compare the guys that are similar, not compare them to the best guy. That's unfair.
Like, how would you be successful as a business if you just said, well, this is the greatest and everybody should be compared to this? How would you make money doing it that way?
Yeah, that's like you being a company and comparing yourself to Google or Apple or Facebook. Like, this is where we need to be.
It'd be like being in the restaurant business and say, you know what? This is our top seller, so we're only going to sell this. Well, what else are you going to have on the menu? Not everybody's going to order that. I don't know if that's a great analogy or not, but I'll stick with it. Ramon Laureano's got a 12-game hitting streak. During that time, he's hitting 367. He has raised his batting average 101 points from 169 to 268. Nowhere in this are we talking about his exit velocity and how hard he hits the ball. He's hit balls hard, no question. But you know what he's doing? He's hitting it where they ain't. And that, in the end, is what matters. You cannot have a career based on analytics that don't matter when it comes to winning games. You can sit here and tell me the exit velocity and how hard a guy hits a ball. By the way, if his regular numbers are down, he won't be here long. How long can you go hitting 200 to 220? No matter what exit velocity, barrel rate, all this stuff, how long do you think you'll last in this league?
You would think not long. I mean, Joey Gallo's wants out. They want him out in New York because they're tired of him striking out and hitting.
Joey Gallo had a great weekend against the A's 2 years ago.
Last year.
Was it last year?
Last year.
And everybody was calling the A's clubhouse show, we need to trade for him. And I'm like, no. The last thing the A's need is another strikeout guy, another low-contact guy. Does anybody remember that? If you are a fan of the A's clubhouse show, last year, that series, he wiped the floor with the A's, couldn't miss, played well on defense, and it was like, the A's need to trade for this guy. I said no. Yankees picked him up, and already they want to dump his ass. He's not a winning player. And some of these analytics are just to make excuses for why guys aren't playing well.
You want to know what Ramon's expected batting average is?
Oh, well, I know what is his batting average right now.
Did you say it was 268?
I think it's 268.
His expected batting average, 264.
If you want to live off that, I mean, that's
pretty similar to
go ahead. Go ahead if you want to live off that. You know, it'd be like, hey, listen, I love to take it to other sports, right? Because really the analytic people in baseball are usually just fans. Have you noticed, and this might be a wide speculation, generalization, but really the hardcore analytic people are really just baseball fans. They're not really into the other sports. So that's why I like to bring up the sports in it, because the average sports fan gets what I'm saying. It would be like a quarterback in the 80s who has a rocket arm, and you would have all of these metrics on how fast the quarterback gets the football out, how far he can throw it, how fat the deep out is a big question. And, when you go to the combine, can the guy throw the deep out? Can he throw the deep ball? The wide receiver tree, can you throw all the passes and do all of that? You'd have this guy the metrics say this guy is hell on wheels. You want that guy, or do you want Joe Montana? Montana doesn't have all that.
He's a winner.
Montana is not going to wow you as the biggest, fastest, best arm guy.
How'd DeMarcus Russell work out?
This is why I like to compare, because I know we have a lot of 49er fans.
Well, Trey Lance.
Who would say, oh, yeah, Townsend, I get that. Like Steve Young. There's no way you're ever going to say, I mean, Steve Young, when he started his career, it was like he was a runner. Sid Gilman with him in the USFL. Do you know who Sid Gilman is?
No idea.
Legendary football coach. He was had his fame with the Chargers. Brought Al Davis from USC to LA Chargers and then into San Diego. And then Sid Gilman was in the USFL and had Steve Young. He would not allow Steve Young to run.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. He's one of the great football coaches.
And College Hall of Fame.
He would not allow he would tie Steve Young's feet together.
Wow.
He'd make Steve Young have to throw from the pocket. Steve Young had to learn how to throw the football. So then by the time he got his brains beat it in Tampa, Bill Walsh traded for him. Bill Walsh, the genius, went to where?
San Jose State.
Where is – he's not always in the shot. I just broke Bill Walsh.
Well.
Get the glue. Go get him.
Okay.
God, Cody, that's your fault.
Bill's everywhere.
Is he really that broken?
Yeah.
I just broke Bill Walsh on this show live.
Here, let me grab him for you.
Oh, my God. Gorilla Goo. And I really just messed up our set here. That bad? Is Bill that bad?
Parts there, leg here.
Is it fixable? Move the table back. God, I love that. That's my Bill Walsh San Jose State bobblehead. Let me see. How is he? How is Bill? Oh, it's just the leg. The bottom of the head's fine. All right, so Bill Walsh, greatest football coach of all time. Taught Steve Young how to become who he ended up becoming, a Hall of Famer, one of the most accurate quarterbacks of all time. But there's two examples, Montana and Steve Young. You would not look at them as analytic darlings. You would not look, because that's what we're basically, we got radar, and we're basically, how fast does the ball go? How, when you hit it, how hard does it go? We got all this stuff that we can tell you. But the reality, are you a winner? Are you a winner? Joe Montana would not be, in an analytic-driven world, would not be your number one quarterback. You know who would be? John Elway. Tom Brady wouldn't.
I would say Brady wouldn't be.
Tom Brady wouldn't. Tom Brady doesn't have the best arm. Peyton Manning wouldn't be, because Peyton Manning didn't have the best arm. So that's why I like to go to, I mean, Jesus, Steph Curry? Steph Curry would never even gotten a shot if you're going to worry about all these different analytics. He's not the highest jumper. He's not a great defender. I mean, really, what does Curry do? He could shoot. But if you were just judging Steph Curry on analytics, Steph Curry wouldn't have made the floor because of his deficiencies. And we all look at that and go, God, that's just ridiculous. Well, look at how we talk about players. We're like making up stats. We're making up, it's not even stats, they're measurements. We're making up measurements and trying to sell measurements. And then back in our day in analytics, we are making up math equations and trying to prove why a player is good or not or whatever. The floor is yours. Is what I'm saying wrong?
No, not at all. I feel like in other sports, like there are numbers that people are starting to use in basketball to look at different things like gravity. How much gravity does he take out? Like all that stuff. Fine. But it all comes down to how many 3-pointers are they making? Because that's the big thing in basketball now. Baseball, it's, well, what's his exit velo? How about his expected batting average? What's his expected slugging? How about his ex-WOBA? All that stuff. Ex-Bacon. Like, the casual fan has no idea what any of that stuff is.
Well, it's expected.
Yeah, and you're looking at their stats, and you're basing it and saying, okay, this guy's hitting 200, but let me make a case to why he is actually a better player than that. And I get that. And I get why we see that happen a lot in this sport. But it also doesn't take away from the fact if the guy's hitting 200, he's a 200 hitter.
You are To quote the great Bill Parcells, I said this last night, the Hall of Famer, you are what your record says you are. When you have lost 8 straight, 11 of 12, and your record is 20-38, that is who you are. Expected. What is the definition? Get me Eno Saris. Hey, Eno Saris, send this to him. Expected. Adjective. Regarded as likely, anticipated. You're likely supposed to do this. I'm anticipating you're supposed to do this, or the reality is this is what you've done.
Do you want to see what the definition for expected batting average is?
Would love to hear it.
Expected batting average is a StatCast metric that measures the likelihood that a batted ball will become a hit. Each batted ball is assigned an XBA based on how often comparable balls in terms of exit velo, launch angle, and on certain types of batted balls, sprint speed have become hits since StatCast was implemented in Major League Baseball in 2015.
Can I give you once again the definition expected, which is an adjective? You ready?
Yeah.
Regarded as likely and anticipated. Not an exact, not what's happening. It's regarded as likely and anticipated.
Here's an example they give. For example, a line drive to the outfield with an XBA of 700 is given that figure because balls with a similar exit velo and launch angle have become hit 7 out of 10 times.
Great.
So you're
great.
You're in the
all right.
You're in the part where, well, the 3 out of 10 were outs.
Big Murph is way more than the 3 out of 10 is outs. No offense, love Big Murph, but it's just an example of you're trying to sell me something. You're trying to sell me something that's not, and you, the consumer right now, how you feeling about your gas prices? How you feeling about inflation? How you feeling about all of that? What if they told you, hey, I know your gas is costing you $110 to fill up, but the expected gas price is it's only going to be $95 next time. But yeah, I'm still paying $105. You keep telling me it's going to be $95, but I'm still paying $105 to fill my tank. Do you buy the expected gas prices, or do you have to pay the actual gas prices?
We pay the actual prices.
Wait a minute. What about the expected gas prices?
Those don't exist.
The other day, I got 2 racks of baby back ribs. I'm not going to mention the place where I got them. It was almost $60.
I'm assuming that's a lot because I don't buy ribs.
Why don't you buy ribs?
I don't have a barbecue to use to make them.
But I've made you ribs, and you're like, I don't think you're a real barbecue. I don't know. I don't really know what you like to eat.
I'm just not a rib. I like a lot of barbecue. Just not a big into ribs. That's all.
You don't eat seafood.
Well, yeah, that's.
I have a feeling you're not really into pork.
I am.
What?
Well, what kind of pork do you want to know about? Bacon?
Okay, that's breakfast. Do you like pork chops?
Yes.
Do you like pork tenderloin?
Yes.
You don't like ribs?
No. It's for me. I can take her. It's take her or leave it for me with ribs sometimes. I guess it goes on how they're cooked. I thought yours are fine. I was not used to eating ribs. My family didn't grow up making ribs. My dad wasn't really out of the box.
What did you guys eat? You didn't eat seafood.
No. Well, seafood's not big in Western PA.
Seafood's big everywhere. If you take seafood out, that takes a big part out. So you're pretty much left with steak, pork, and chicken.
That's what we ate.
I have a feeling you're more like a chicken with sometimes some beef.
No, I'll do both.
What do you eat on a regular basis?
Most of whatever my wife makes.
Well, she's making what you want.
Well, no, we do HelloFresh a lot.
You're a finicky eater. Let's just be honest. You're like my kids. You could eat chicken tenders every day.
No.
Which is basically fried chicken.
It is fried chicken, yes. Maybe chicken tender, no French fries though.
You could eat chicken. You have the palate of like a 12-year-old.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, I'm just saying.
As long as my children aren't like that, that's all that matters to me.
Well, if you eat like that, unfortunately, your children. Are we calling Howard or is he calling us?
Howard's going to join us, so we'll see him when he pops up. He's going to do it via video.
Is he really?
Yeah, we got him for about 15 minutes. I told him we'd go for about 15.
So I don't have the book. I'm going to be honest with you. But the book is The Life and Legend of American Original.
On Ricky. We'll have to talk about, because remember I told you Howard's want to share the story about Ricky and him yelling. I was on second base when they were asking where was everyone when Joe Carter hit the walk-off home run. So I'm fascinated. The book just came out 2 days ago. Came out on the 7th. So I remember I texted him on Tuesday to see if he was available, and he said yeah. So I'm glad I was able to do it. Now he wrote a book on Hank Aaron, I believe, 12 years ago, I want to say. I never got a chance to check it up. I know he did a book on Hank Aaron.
Well, I thought since we were just in Atlanta, it was really cool to see the Hank Aaron statue. I got to interview Hank Aaron one time.
So pretty cool though.
And it was like, one of those wow moments in your career because you're talking to greatness. And I was really nervous. It was young in my career. It was back when I was on KMBR and I was doing a Weekend Giants pregame show and taking on the Atlanta Braves. And of course, Hank worked for the Braves. I reached out to the Braves and had him on. And, when you're going to have Hank Aaron on, you're just like, wow. And I had to have been I was probably 27 years old. Howard Bryant joins us. Howard, it's been a really long time since the last time I had you on. It was way back in the day when I was on KMBR in San Francisco, but it's great to have you back on the program. And we were just, before we get into Ricky, I know you've done the book on Hank Aaron, and we just played in Atlanta, and a lot of talk about Hank Aaron and his greatness and seeing the statue on TV. And I was just reminiscing about the one time I interviewed him, and it's kind of a wow moment because you're truly talking to greatness. And while you're talking to greatness, you also realize just the nicest guy for how great he was. I mean, he was just such a gentleman, and it was such an honor. And so for me to be able to say I interview Hank Aaron is really a cool thing.
Yeah, Henry was tremendous, and as awesome as that was for Henry to invite me into his home and to meet his family and to write about his life. It was staggering and a huge responsibility. And whenever I talk to journalism schools and talk to students, you always remind them that when you write about people, whether it's a 500-page article or, 500-word article or a 500-page book, you have their entire life in your hands. It's your responsibility to represent them properly and to represent them accurately. And when you're tasked with taking on someone like Hank Aaron, it's a staggering amount of responsibility in terms of making sure you get it right. Because when Henry and I first spoke, which was on Jackie Robinson's birthday in 2006, I believe, January 31st, 2006, Henry just punched me right in the face with it. He's like, I don't talk to media because you guys say you want to get it right, and then you get it wrong, and then you correct it, and then I have to correct the correction. And I just don't believe that you can tell my story accurately. And so that was how Henry and I first decided to get into doing this. And so to be able to take on these ideas, whether it's Henry or Ricky, huge amount of responsibility. And you just hope that you get it right.
What is it like when you start going down the path? Because I'm sure you have ideas of why you want to get into it, whether you're talking about Ricky Henderson or any type of book, or as you mentioned, an article you've been writing for so long. You have an idea going in, but like anything else, if you're going down the highway, you go off onto different off-ramps. What is that like when you start with an idea and it just goes good, bad, ugly, whatever, it grows and it changes in front of you?
Well, the biggest thing that you have to do is to know what you're talking about. That's the first thing. You have to have an idea of what you want to say, how you want to say it. Do you have the access to say it? Do you have the opportunity to say it? What do you do when you're dealing with a subject that you really care about, but you may not have access to the subject? So those are the challenges of trying to get a project done. And then, of course, the other thing is that you cannot be dogmatic about it. You have to let the research take you wherever the research is going to take you. No matter what you think you're going into, the research in the writing is going to dictate what the project ends up ultimately being. And in Ricky's case, for me, I was really interested in Oakland. It was really the idea that, one, this city is so underrepresented in terms of like the greatness of the players. And then next, it was Ricky as a character. You start putting him up against the best of the best of the best. And all of a sudden, you're like, there ain't a whole lot of guys around us. And now that lends itself to, here's somebody who's absolutely worthy of the full treatment. And there aren't as many as we think.
The greatness of Henderson. I mean, you know, you try and tell kids, you know, because we're looking at all these analytics and everything. It's like, hey, the goal of this game is to score more runs than the other team. And that thing, home plate, touching home plate, is the number one goal, to do it as many times as you possibly can. And for all of us who got to see his entire career, nobody touched home plate more than Ricky Henderson. You can talk about the stolen bases. You can talk about a lot of different things. But the number one thing, he did more than anybody else. And I think a lot of people don't think about that.
No, they don't. Nor do they think about the means to the end. They think about stealing bases as the goal. Stealing bases get you 90 feet closer to home plate. That's the goal. And that's why Ricky, when people would call Ricky the greatest base stealer of all time, obviously he would accept that because he is. But there was a second piece to it, which is, this is going to help me win games. This is just a means to an end. I'm the best at it, but it really is a means to the end. And the end is crossing home plate.
What in the book did you do that you went, wow, you've known Ricky Henderson for a while. What did you investigate, find out that we can read in this book that you didn't know, and probably none of us?
Well, I think there are three things that really jump out. One is the roots of Oakland. I've always known the Oakland story. We've always, we know the Bill Russell, Frank Robinson story. We know that Frank Robinson and Vada Pinson and Kurt Flood all shared the same outfield at McClymonds. We all know those stories. But what I never really saw anywhere else, and I thought was really important to dig into, was where those guys came from. And what I found fascinating was something that we never talk about in sports, which is the effect of the Great Migration on the city itself, on Oakland. There's a reason why Frank Robinson and Vada and Flood and Bill Russell all lived in West Oakland. And what was crazy about it was it was segregation, that black families weren't really allowed to live anywhere else in the city at that time in the early 40s. But the other piece of it too was all those guys came from the same place. That you got Huey Newton, who is one of the co-founders of the Black Panthers. He grows up in Monroe, Louisiana, just a mile or so away from where Bill Russell grew up, and they end up being neighbors in West Oakland. And then the same thing happens with Frank Robinson and Bobby Seale and Ricky and Lloyd Mosby. And before you know it, you go, this is unbelievable. That I didn't know that Paul Silas, that the Silases and the Pointers were related. So Paul Silas and the Pointer sisters both lived over by McClymonds High. I mean, it's an incredible amount of talent. It's a staggering amount of talent in a 15-block radius.
I had never heard that one before.
There are 14 of them. The Silas Pointers all lived in the same house up off of Adeline in West Oakland.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, so there was that. That was the one thing I didn't know. And the other thing I didn't know, and I got it from talking to Mike Norris, was Mike Norris told me this was an amazing story. When Ricky and Mike Norris were in AA in Jersey City, they came back to their house one day, the apartment that they shared, and Ricky was writing his future wife, Pam, writing her a letter, and he kept asking Mike Norris how to spell certain words. And it's when he realized that Mike saw that Ricky was really having trouble reading. And then that was where, Mike concluded that Ricky maybe didn't read very well. And he says, but let me tell you how smart Ricky was. Ricky taught himself how to read in 3 weeks during the summer of 1978. I'd never heard that before. And he said that he found out when Ricky was trying to write Pam a letter, and Mike just kept saying, well, Ricky, if you can't if you can't read all of these stories, how do you know what people are saying about you? How do you know how you're being portrayed? And so he and Mike Norris sat there and read the newspaper for the entire summer when they were in AA. And I asked Ricky the story, and Ricky said, yeah, we were such good athletes that they always pushed us through in school. And that whenever there was a game and we had a test, we always went to go play. And I said, sounds like today as well.
Yes, very sad. But it also shows you, the success of Ricky Henderson was not all about just how great an athlete he was, because has done very well with his money. And as you just said, taught himself, helped educate himself. There's something special inside. There's a reason why. There's something special inside him. There's a reason why he was so successful. And it's just not because he ran fast.
No, it was the desire to succeed, and that is the thing. I mean, and Ricky's he's not dumb. I mean, Ricky knows his math. I mean, Ricky just had trouble reading. It was the English part of it, but that's why he's such a devastating, legendary card player. He knows how to count the cards. Math comes very naturally to him, but the reading part didn't. But the way Mike said it, and the way Pamela Henderson said it as well, when he puts his mind to something, you cannot beat him. And you're 100% right. That's not just about having athletic talent. That's having desire. The desire to succeed and overcome and defeat whatever the opponent is. And that was something fascinating. And I think the other thing that I learned doing this book as well, and I really, really appreciated it, was this storyline about history, about time and the arc of history. That Ricky was not a very popular player. He was not a very likable player. A lot of players couldn't stand him. They didn't like his swagger. They didn't like how good he was. They didn't like how he told you how good he was. But then over time, over the course of 25 years in the game, now they want to celebrate him. And it's fascinating how time works that way, how Ricky is now the epitome of all the things we miss about the game. That the game doesn't have as much personality as it did back then, and that Ricky was ahead of his time, and that now he is this Satchel Paige and Yogi Berra combination of just an American treasure. And I just love that story arc, how over time we begin to appreciate when it's gone. And then you look back and you go, damn, he obliterated the record book. And so I just love the fact that over time you see how good he was. And as much as people talk about analytics, and as much as people talk about how analytics are ruining the game, the analytics guys were the ones who really, really went out of their way to resuscitate Ricky, because the numbers showed he was even better than we thought he was looking at him with our two eyes.
Yeah, I always think on this show, and I don't want to be known as an A's homer, but I always say this, and there's Hall of Famers. I mean, I've been to the Hall of Fame quite a bit. I've been around this game for a long time. There's the great players, there's the Hall of Famers, and then there's that upper echelon of guys. And even in Seckersley's talking about it, there's those guys that are the Hall of the Hall of Famers, and Ricky's up there. But I'm glad what you just talked about. I want to throw this at you and get your opinion, because this was a very interesting conversation. We're in San Diego for the winter meetings right before COVID hit, right? It's 2019. We're like one of the only shows down there. It's like us and the Yes Network, and we're down there covering the winter meetings. Sandy Alderson at that point has not gotten back to the Mets. He's basically a special assistant to Billy Beane and the A's, and we just get to talking, and we get on Ricky Henderson. We're talking about all the guys that he's moved, traded, brought in, and he's talking about bringing Ricky Henderson back from the New York Yankees to add to this team that's been to the World Series, but can Ricky get them over the hump, which he would do, but in the room, they had a discussion, and there was, I guess, quite a few people in there. Some were for, some were against bringing Ricky Henderson back to the A's because of whatever you want to call it. I don't know, but I was kind of uncomfortable doing the interview. I'm like, and Sandy was like, I don't think a lot of people, it was like one of those things where it just like came to Sandy, and Sandy's like, I don't think a lot of people know about this, or this has really been reported. But yeah, there were people in the room that said, don't bring Ricky back. He'll be back for the team. So here we're talking about one of the greatest players of all time in his prime. The A's at the time were like, should or shouldn't we bring him back? Would he be good? Of course they would. and it would help win the World Series in 1989. But back then there was doubt on whether he'd be good to bring him inside the clubhouse. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's 100% right. And I talked to Sandy about that very thing in spring training in Mesa a couple of years ago. And you're right. I mean, this is the thing when we talk about the arc of Ricky, that Ricky goes to New York in 1985, puts up enormous numbers, and yet they don't win. So what's the rap on Ricky in the mid-'80s? The rap on Ricky is that really big personality, really sort of aloof, not really a team player, puts up big numbers, but he's not a winner. Okay, they went to the ALCS in 81 in the strike year, but the knock on Ricky was that he was not a championship ball player. And we know guys like that. We've seen guys like that who put up big numbers but never win a thing. And it makes you wonder if they are championship level players. So here's Ricky, and they're actually wondering if moving a couple of guys, if moving Eric Plunk or Greg Cattery is worth Ricky Henderson. What does that tell you about where? What does that tell you about where it's Stan Javier? What does that say about his reputation as a ball player? And Ricky understood that. And what I always say is that when you look at Ricky from 1989 to 1991. This is some of the greatest baseball that's ever been produced. Ricky had a chip on his shoulder to show the world that he was not just a great player, but he was a champion. He was a championship level player, and that you were a better player with him on your team. And it shows you sort of where he was at in his career, that there was a question about having him on a team that was an inch away from being a championship team, especially coming from where they had come from, having lost to the Dodgers the way they lost. And one of my favorite things about that story is that, and Ricky told me this, is that the night Kirk Gibson hits the home run, and this begins the fall of the A's for that series, the A's are aware that they are short, that they need one more piece to get this engine going. That engine was at the ballpark. Ricky was there that night. Ricky was in the seats when Kirk Gibson hit the home run. He was the guest of Mike Davis, who actually walked to set up the home run that Gibson hit. And then Ricky, who's in the stadium, ends up being the final piece to the puzzle the very next year.
Well, I got to tell you, I don't know how many people know this, but Ricky, you just think about Ricky in Oakland. So for years, I also worked for the Raiders. And I would actually, the fastest way for me to get up to do the post-game show from the field, I would run into Ricky Henderson in the West Side Club at Raider game. Here's like one of the greatest players of all time at the bar, West Side Club, Raider game, just hanging out with people. Like, Ricky was such a regular guy. He's such a star. He was always, even after his playing days, a regular guy.
Yeah. I remember seeing Ricky one day at Sky Harbor in Phoenix, just on the escalator, heading out. I was like, well, there's Ricky. Ricky gave a little nod. I gave a little nod, and that was that. But 100%. And that was one of the things that I really loved about doing this book. And it was the fact that there is a connection to Ricky and this town in Oakland that is unbreakable. And it's not just that he's from there. It's not just that he played there. He is there. He really does embody what that city's all about. And that's not true of everybody being born in a given place. There's a certain connection that you have, and he's got it. And what I was thinking about as I was working on these chapters and trying to consider what was going to stay, what was going to go, how do you approach this, is that there really is an anchor to his professional and personal life, and it's that city. And what was really bothersome to me was that the original subtitle of this book was Ricky Henderson and the Legend of Oakland. And the publisher didn't like Oakland in the title, because they thought Oakland regionalized the book and didn't make it national, maybe made the book too small. So we had to change the subtitle. And a little secret to future writers out there, you may control everything in the book, but the publisher controls the title and the cover. You may lose that battle. I have lost that battle many times. And so to be able to tell these stories and to connect Ricky to Oakland, that Oakland is a place that gave him a certain level of grounding, and it was always better for him. Like I still, my first encounters with Ricky professionally was 1998, his last day in Oakland. It was my first year on the beat for the San Jose Mercury News. And what I found fascinating about Ricky is that when you watch great players, top shelf players, by the time they're 39, 40 years old, they're not the same. And Ricky wasn't the same, and everybody knew it. He hit, 236 that year? But he could still hurt you. And for somebody who was considered so selfish, and for somebody who wasn't considered a team player, for somebody who got dogged all the time, there was a complete lack of ego with Ricky. Most great players, when they're not the same anymore, they quit because they can't handle the type of failure that the rest of us have to deal with, that all the other major league players have to deal with, and that we have to deal with in life. But because they're so great, they're not used to that type of failure. And people on the A's that year just marveled at the fact that he was able to be so comfortable in his own skin when most players at that level just aren't used to failing that way. They're not used to losing, striking out, getting beat by guys who had no business beating them. And it just made people love Ricky even more because it said, you know what? He really does love this game, and he loves competition, even if he's not on top. And then at the same time, there's going to be a moment at some point, whether he goes 0 for 12 or 1 for 20, where he's going to hurt you and become Ricky Henderson again and remind you that he's still the legend. And I just love that about this story. I just love that in not just the things that Ricky said, but in all of the people who played with him, whether it was Terry Steinbach or Eck or any of those guys. They had so many things to say about him. You could tell he was just a cut above, just a totally different legendary dude.
The narrative on Ricky Henderson, as you mentioned, from Billy Martin's days to the Yankees, then to the greatness of the A's in the late 80s, 90s, on to Toronto, all of that, really started to change as he got older. As you mentioned, we started to really realize how much he loved to play. When he's playing for the San Diego Surf Dogs, you're realizing that this guy just wants to play. And it doesn't matter the stats. It doesn't matter the money. He's got every dime he's ever made. He's financially set for the rest of his life. Ricky loved to play baseball, and that's why we always have fun on this show talking about, we've gone through it. 19. Do you love Ricky Henderson, the Seattle Mariner, or the Red Sox, or the Angel, or the Padre, or the Dodger? That's the thing I think in the end, once we get, because there was that time in the I want to say the late 80s, early 90s, we had the passing around, and Howard, we're showing how old we are, where Will Clark's the highest paid player. Now it's Jose Canseco, then it's Ricky Henderson, then it's Kirby Puckett. Everybody was that $3-4 million a year player. Everybody, Ricky always wanted to be the highest. As years went on, you started to realize money was nice, and Ricky cared about money, and every professional athlete should care about it. But Ricky, in the end, just loved playing the game, and he proved that for how many teams he played and how he's playing in Long Beach, San Diego Surf Dogs. Ricky proved to us how much he loved the game.
No, that's right. And I just absolutely had so much appreciation for his willingness to put himself out there and play. That I'm not going to make excuses for, back in my day, you couldn't have gotten the ball by me. He wasn't like that. You put him on the field, and it's go time, and let's just play. And that takes an amazing amount of discipline. I remember talking to Art Howe about it, and Art was saying how everybody who steps in that batter's box, they know when it gets past them. They know when it's time to say goodbye. And sometimes it's even easier to say goodbye when you're struggling because the game is telling you can't do it anymore. And yet Ricky was still able at 39 years old to lead the league in stolen bases in 1998. At 39 years old, still had 399 and 400 on base. It's incredible what this guy could do. It's just, you just shake your head. I mean, the stat that gets me the most about Ricky is the Red Sox stat. He joins the Red Sox in 2002. From 1979 to 2001, Ricky stole more bases than the Red Sox as a team. You can't, once again, I mean, this is the type of stuff you're never going to see again. 3,000 hits, 2,000 runs, 2,000 walks, 1,000 plus stolen bases. Forget it. I mean, this is as distant as 1,400 stolen bases is as distant as Cy Young's 511 wins.
I'll give you one. And you've been so gracious with your time and trust me. We're going to promote the hell out of this book for you because I want everybody to read it. And he's the greatest player in our franchise's history. With the guys in Philadelphia, that was a different area, obviously, but there was great players. But this MLB stat pack, I'll never forget. I was reading it one day, and it says Derek Jeter, with one more stolen base, will become the all-time leader in Yankee stolen bases. And he'll be passing Ricky Henderson. And I was like, Ricky didn't play that long in New York. So you're saying all those years, all those Yankee greats, Ricky wasn't there that long, and it took Derek Jeter 20 years to break his record? That blew my mind.
Well, and on top of that, Ricky had the all-time Yankee stolen base record. Ricky broke it 3 times in 4 years in New York. And seriously, if you look at that record of the top Yankee single season stolen base guys, it's Derek Jeter, who needed 20 years to break what Ricky did in 4. Ricky, and Ricky.
Yeah, it's amazing. Hey, it's been a long time. It's always an honor. Your work through all the different places you've been, your work is as good as anybody's. You're a great follow on Twitter. I hope hope for nothing but the best with this book. We'll do everything we can to try and get it into the hands of every single A's fan. We'll try and get some out here. We'll talk to you about that off. But congratulations with the book and such a great career. And it's an honor to have you here on A's Cast Live.
No, thank you. It's my pleasure. As I said, I'm always close to Oakland. It was my first job in the business, and Mickey and Moose and Art and everybody. It's that book is almost as autobiographical in some ways because it was the roots of me getting into the business. So nothing but respect for Oakland, for that town, for the team.
Well, as you mentioned, San Jose Mercury News, I've lived in San Jose since '91, so I was reading you back years ago in the Merc.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. You be well.
Thank you. Take care. Howard
Bryant. I can't wait to read it. Yeah, Ricky, when you say age like a fine wine, it's a phenomenal point. Ricky is aging into this greatness and getting the respect that he didn't necessarily have during his prime. I would say Ricky Henderson in his prime was really known as a mercenary. And he wasn't the beloved A. Ricky Henderson wasn't bigger. I mean, if we went back, right, I don't know. Could we check this voting for the All-Star game?
Let me see.
I guarantee you Jose Canseco was getting more votes. Ricky Henderson, because remember, after with the A's, the second time around, he goes to Toronto, wins the World Series. You know who he was kind of like? And I know it's not apples to apples, but he was kind of like David Cone.
I thought that was what you were
David Cone was known as, go get David Cone. You want to win the World Series? Go get David. Toronto got David Cone. New York got David Cone. Like you want a mercenary, you want a stone cold killer on the mound, a guy that's nasty, go get David Cone. Ricky Henderson was like that. The A's traded back for Ricky Henderson to do one thing, to win the World Series. The Toronto Blue Jays traded for Ricky Henderson to win the World Series. Now, if you're not old enough to remember that, that was the time, because and I respect that because we have a lot of fans out there who listen to us that don't remember the 89 team. They don't remember 88, 88. You weren't born or you were just born. You don't understand the greatness of that 89 team. But I'm telling you, the rock star then was not Ricky Henderson. It was Jose Canseco. Jose Canseco was a big deal. He was a star. I haven't talked much about this, but when they did that documentary on Jose Canseco and we had the viewing in Concord, I got to host it and I got to hang out with Jose Canseco. My generation, Jose Canseco, you're talking about the late 80s. That's when I'm in high school. That's my high school baseball years. Those were my years of love and baseball and, that lead into my college baseball. Jose Canseco was the dude. Jose Canseco was the number one star in baseball. He got the most votes for the All-Star game. Do you remember? I can't remember which All-Star game it was, but it was at Wrigley Field. Was this 89?
I can check the year.
88 or 89. And that's when they didn't have the stands outside of Wrigley that they have now. People for the home run derby were hanging out of windows. Hit it here, Jose. Jose was in Chicago. That would be the north side, not the south side, Cody.
89 was Anaheim. So
Oh, that was the Bo Jackson, Wade Boggs. Boggs goes deep, then Bo Jackson. Might have been 88. Was it 88 or 90?
Let's see. That was in a National League Park, so that's a good start. It was at Riverfront Stadium in 88.
Try 90. I know it's one of these years.
Another MLB or National League Park. It was at Wrigley.
All right. 1990. I knew my memory. At some point, my memory will go. But yeah, Jose was the star. Hit it here, Jose. I mean, Jose's coming out of Madonna. Jose's coming out of Madonna's new. He's got paparazzi following him. He's at Madonna's place in New York and Manhattan. No one was following Ricky. Jose Canseco was the star. But now, history is really on his side as we're starting to understand the greatness, as we've named our field after him. Hopefully, big vote this month. Howard Terminal. First statue's got to be Ricky Henderson. Right?
Yes. I mean, I don't know who else you would.
Well,
there's other guys.
You could do it to me.
True.
The Townie statue. Am I getting a statue?
Maybe it's the Chris Townsend broadcast booth?
No.
Well, if you're getting a statue, would you rather have a statue or the broadcast booth named after you?
Well, the broadcast booth is going to be Bill King. For
I know, but I'm just saying, it's a Jim Harbaugh hypothetical.
Hypotheticals. Only control the controllables. What would I want? I just want a room. I want an A's Cast Chris Townsend room. That's our spot. I've seen this you know who's got a cool one is Petco Park's got a studio down the left field line. It's a TV/radio studio. That's what I want. Fans can walk by, see you doing the show. It's pretty sweet. That's what I want. I want the Chris Townsend A's Cast TV radio studio that fans can come by and see us while we're doing the show. That's all I want. I don't want a bobblehead. You can keep your bobbleheads. I want the A's Cast studio.
Well, I don't know if we want to give a bobblehead because we saw what happened to Bill Walsh.
We will fix Bill Walsh, the genius. God, I'm running behind. Howard was good. Can I get the Howard Bryant book, please?
Yeah, I'll text him and ask him if we can get a copy of it.
Okay, coming up next, we are going to speak with one. I'm rolling. I'm feeling good. Coffee is kicked in. I'm ready to rock. But we got to pay the bills. Coming up next, one of the greatest relievers, one of the greatest pitchers, and a guy for sure who needs to get a statue when they build the new ballpark at Howard Terminal. That's the great Raleigh Fingers. Next, right here on A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
Some things just go together. Peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, Oakland and Kaiser Permanente. If that last one caught you off guard, it shouldn't, because Kaiser Permanente has been helping keep Oakland healthy since our very beginning. And as the official healthcare partner of the Oakland A's, that won't be changing anytime soon. Whatever you may need, you can trust Kaiser Permanente to help keep you feeling your best. Kaiser Permanente. Thrive. Visit kp.org today.
What's it like having supersonic Wi-Fi from Xfinity? It's fast, like riding a cheetah fast. Kitty, U-turn please. Unbeatable internet only from Xfinity.
Get supersonic Wi-Fi with the new Xfinity 3-for-1 bundle. Unlimited gig internet with a 2-year rate guarantee, a free streaming box, and add Xfinity Mobile. Go to xfinity.com/3-for-1, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity Internet. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game times, schedules, and more.
Hey Ace fans, we've got a great deal for you. Get 4 tickets and parking for all Friday night games starting at just $39. Pick from great matchups, post-game fireworks and drone shows, giveaways, and more.
Outside corner, ring him up. And Eaton can't believe it.
Grab the crew and head to the Coliseum with friends and family any Friday night this season. 4 tickets and parking starting at just $39 for the whole group. Tickets are available at athletics.com. That's athletics.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrie locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Innovation is at the heart of Cal State East Bay, like at our Green Biome Institute, where faculty and students map genes from California's endangered plants, or how we open doors for local entrepreneurs at our Small Business Development Center. From educators to nurses to STEM professionals, Cal State East Bay has real impact throughout the region's neighborhoods, boardrooms, and entire economy. Be part of the innovation. Connect with Cal State East Bay at csueastbay.edu/impact.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
All right, I want a brief synopsis on what's going on in minor league baseball with the balls that they're putting tacky substances on. We've talked about this now for a couple of years. So they're trying to get away from these guys having to use a foreign substance, spider tack, sunscreen with rosin, which is a joke, but should not be an issue. Oh my God, you're putting copper tone on the ball? So in the minor leagues, they're experimenting with stickier baseballs. What's going on? Is it working, not working? What's going on?
So they started doing this in AA. AA leagues entered the second phase of an experiment being conducted by the commissioner's office. Substances from 2 vendors, the materials science behemoth Dow, formerly Dow Chemical, and a smaller company, Chocolates, are being tested in different portions of the season. With they're adding different supplements to the ball, like mud and all this stuff that are coming with it. So
they already put Mississippi mud on the balls.
Yeah, well, I guess now it's saying with the regular mud balls, teams apply the mud themselves before games, but that leaves it doesn't show you how much actually you can put on. So these 2 companies are both applying the tack before the balls are shipped to teams, removing the step from the process, which Major League Baseball likes. If you want
too much information, is it working or not? What do we got?
So far, the walk numbers in the Southern League, the rate has climbed from 3.1 or 3.6 last season to 4.2 entering Sunday.
They're walking more guys with stickier balls.
The walk rate's up, yes. And the very bottom of the article, it says in there, I wish we would have started this just not in the minor league, just not in AA. Like, you should go lower. But baseball doesn't want to start
What do the pitchers think?
A lot of guys aren't a fan of it.
Why?
I think it's just because of this article was long, like super long. So I got through most of it reading the stuff about like the stats and how they're going up. It's just one of those
pitchers claiming they're throwing less strikes because of the ball?
No, I just don't think they like it.
Why?
I'd have to go back. I told you I read this article, but it was super long. I didn't read it 6 times.
I don't know what players like. I don't know. These kids, I don't know what they like. Like, they don't like the juice ball that's super slick. We know that. And they all complain, no seams, too slick. You know, it's like a cue ball. Can't grip it. All right, here's a ball with some grip. Oh, we don't like that either. Well, what the hell do you like? Do you like anything? Are you really going to get anybody that likes? Every pitcher's different. Every pitcher feels the ball differently with finger pressure, how you utilize the seams. Are we going to be able to please anybody?
Doesn't seem like it.
Oh, God. All right,
both pitchers said that the tacked up balls from the face were inconsistent.
Well, the non-tacky balls are inconsistent.
Yeah. Can we just figure out the baseball?
I don't hear anyone complain about footballs, basketballs.
Well, the reason why the Celtics won Game 3 last night is because they were playing the different basketball than they were in Game 2. Yeah, I said it. Celtics won Game 2.
No, they won Game 3.
Oh, sorry, Game 3. Yes.
You're saying the Celtics were using a different ball last night?
I don't know. Apparently, they did have the hoop on the Warriors were shooting up for pregame was higher than it normally is. Celtics playing mine. Was Belichick in charge? Jonathan or
were they? Wait. Was there a camera on the side filming?
Robert Kraft was seen walking down the hall after the Celtics won the game.
Spygate 4. What would this be? They've got caught.
They did it with the Rams and they did it with the Bengals.
Super Bowl and the Bengals. So be
yeah.
Spygate 3 in New England. Here we go. Those cheating sons of. No panic though with Dub Nation. It's not Draymond's fault. Don't panic. Steph's not hurt. Clay at some point will shoot again. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Why would you panic? Why are you panicking?
Steph's supposed to play tomorrow.
It's like panicking about the A's on base percentage. Why are you panicking? We're going to be fine. A's are 25th in on base percentage against left-handed pitchers.
Also, it's still early in the series for the Dubs. They can still come back.
Still early in the series for the A's. It's a 4-game set, Game 1 against the Indians.
Would you say before we get to Raleigh? Would you say game 4 on tomorrow night is a must-win for the Warriors before they head to away for it? A pivotal Game 5.
Every single time I've ever said anything's a must-win, people in whatever sport that is will tell me I'm an idiot. It's never a must-win unless it's okay. No, it's not a must-win. According to these geniuses in all these sports, the only must-win is the game you have to win or you go home.
Yeah, so Game 7, if it's 3-3.
Yeah.
That's a must-win. But Game 5...
And by the way, most of these people aren't Captain Obvious either. You know, we're in the business of giving opinions, and when you give opinions, people are, oh, you're an idiot. Well, I got to give an opinion. That's what we're paid to do. So, yeah, Game 4 is a must-5. You're down like that, and you got to come back? You're going to come back? Oh, it's back to the Chase Center. Well, okay. You want to be down? Because that closing game could be back at, what do they call the Celtics place now?
TD Garden. It's not the Parquet
It's not the Boston Garden.
Yeah. Hey, the Warriors aren't playing games 5 and 7 at Oracle. They're playing at Chase Center. Ooh. Maybe they should go back and play Game 7 at Oracle. Ooh. Close it out on a winning note.
It's not the same. Chase Center's not the same as Oracle. Oracle.
Until game 1, the Warriors have never lost a playoff game at Chase Center.
All righty. I know. Oh, here, let's do this real quick.
Okay. So June 17th, next Friday, that's 8 days from now, you can show your pride and celebrate Glenn Burke Pride Night at the ballpark on June 17th as the A's take on the Royals. $5 from every ticket will be sold to benefit the Oakland LGBTQ Center, whose mission is dedicated to enhancing and sustaining the well-being of LGBTQ individuals, their families, and allies for providing educational, social, and health-related activities, programs, and services. Early arriving fans can get a commemorative Glenn Burke Pride hat, which Townie's holding right here, presented by Gilead as the A's take on the Royals. Tickets are available at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets. That's next Friday against the Royals when the A's return home from this long road trip. Cleveland for 4, Boston for 3, then back home next Friday against Kansas City.
I mean, the thing is, it's the underbrim that these hats that are unbelievable.
I agree. Like even with the AAPI hat that we showed the other day.
Oh, you want that? I got that in my bag of tricks because we showed it the other day. I haven't moved it. Yeah. The underbrim. It's sweet.
Yeah, it's a good-looking hat. Both of them are.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I can't say it enough. They're well made.
The AAPI hat presented by Cal State East Bay. The Glenburg Pride Night hat presented by Gilead next Friday, athletics.com/tickets.
Yeah, these hats, these are not like the hats that we grew up with. Giveaway day, you'd wear it once and they fall apart. All righty, I got to tell you, being around the 72 team was really cool this past weekend. I mean, obviously, all the respect in the world. I would have loved to have covered them. I would have loved to have watched them. I joke with, as Vida always says, I was the youngest guy on the team. And I joke with Vida, yeah, I was born that year. So I wasn't keeping score. I didn't have the Bible. I didn't have the Bible keeping score for the 70s. But obviously, what a great team. You can't tell the history of baseball without talking about this team. That's when you're truly greatness. If you take the timeline of the sport, plenty of players, plenty of good teams, but can you tell the history of baseball without talking about the 70s A's? The answer is no. There's only 2 franchises in the history of the game that have won at least 3 World Series in a row. A's are one of them. This is truly one of the great groups of players of all time. Their run from 71 to 75, their 3 straight World Series, 72, 73, 74. They've written books about it. They're one of the greats. And this guy right here, Rollie Fingers, who we're going to play for you, truly one of the great players. That's why he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And you can make a case he's the greatest reliever of all time. Here is former MVP, Cy Young Award winner, 3-time World Series champion, you name it, Rollie Fingers. You know what, earlier today, Rollie, when we were doing the season ticket holder event, I tried to bring it up, and I talk about this all the time on my talk show about if you look at the numbers, your career is second to none. Truly, you can make an argument the greatest reliever of all time, but it all has to start somewhere. And really the greatness of your career, your Hall of Fame career, started with this group of guys in 1972, putting you on the map of that World Series.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That year, I made the ball club I made the ball club as a starter in 71, and then I really stunk the place up. And Dick Williams was our manager in 71, and he took me out of the rotation and he threw me in the bullpen about halfway through the season. And I just kind of fell into the job. I mean, I think I had 17 saves from midseason on, and then in 72, I was strictly a closer. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the idea of coming to the ballpark, maybe pitching that night. I couldn't handle being a starter and waiting 4 days to get knocked out in the second inning, and then wait 4 days and get knocked out in the second inning again. So I enjoyed the closer role. I enjoyed coming into pressure games, and I had halfway decent control, so I could throw the ball where I wanted to. So it was an easy fit for me.
A lot of guys struggle with the transition because as a starter, you get used to this routine about how you warm up and how you get ready compared to a guy in the bullpen. It's get up, get hot, and let's go. How was that transition for you from starter to reliever?
Oh, it was pretty easy. I didn't need a whole lot of pitches to get warmed up. I kind of watched the game. If I saw, the game's close, maybe a 1 or 2 run lead, and we're getting in close to the 5th inning, I just might get up on my own and just start tossing the ball a little bit just to get the blood flowing. And then I'd sit down, and then if something happened, then I get a phone call, then I would be up and ready to go within 9-10 pitches. So I could get warmed up and get into the game pretty quickly.
When you think back of this 1972 team, you go on to win 2 more. You guys establish this just legendary run by the A's that makes you a dynasty. But how confident were you guys in 72 going up, not only winning the American League and then taking on the Big Red Machine?
Oh, golly. We were just happy to be there. And we had just lost Reggie in a sliding incident in Detroit. And we had lost Darryl Knowles. He broke his thumb, I think, on the last day of the season, fielding a ground ball. So we're going in without our left-handed closer and our power hitter, and we were supposed to get killed. So, I think there was more pressure on them than there was on us because we were supposed to lose. But we we had great pitching, and that's what we won on. We had, I think, Catfish won 20 games. Holtzman, I think, won 20 games that year. Odom had a great year. Vita Blue. And we had some solid guys in the bullpen with myself and Bob Locker and Dave Hamilton. But I think we went into that series with 8 pitchers, and we outpitched them. They had a great offense, but our pitching staff handled, especially the top 3 or 4 guys in their batting order: Rose, Morgan, Bench, and Perez. We kind of handcuffed them. They didn't get too many hits.
Yeah, that's the thing that I always look at when people talk about, we got so into this. A closer comes in, 9th inning. That's the only time he pitches. Team's got to be tied or mostly ahead. And I go, if you look at Raleigh Fingers' numbers where you're throwing over 100 innings in a season, you think of the volume that you pitch, the amount of innings. I mean, you could come in the 6th or 7th inning and you were taking this thing to the house.
Oh, yeah. There was usually nobody else after me. It was it was me or the outhouse or the castle, one of the two. So Dick would bring me in the 6th, 7th innings a lot. I went in '74. Alvin Dark brought me in the 5th inning of the first game of the World Series, and because he knew that I could throw 4 or 5 innings, so I didn't mind it. I enjoyed the work. I didn't like going out there a whole lot and just pitching 1 inning. I needed a lot of work to stay sharp. So for me, it was great for my control, being able to hit spots, and the more I pitched, the better I got.
Well, of course, you'd go on, and whether it was with the Padres or the Brewers, and had phenomenal years. There's no question. But with Oakland, did it take going to other organizations to realize just how crazy everything was with the Oakland A's?
Oh yeah, when I left the A's, I went to San Diego, and we were on a 4th place, 5th place team, and I said, "Wow, this is not the way the game's supposed to be played." We were struggling. I mean, we weren't winning ball games. We'd lose series. We'd lose 7, 8 in a row. I said, "Man, this is not the way it's supposed to be." But you got to go somewhere. And I went to San Diego. I thought they were going to have a pretty good ball club. That's why I signed with them when I became a free agent. I think all of us would have loved to have stayed with the A's, but Charlie Finley just did not want to pay us. He didn't want to come up with the money, and he wasn't going to pay the salaries that free agency was going to bring into the game. So he got out of the game. And I wish we could. That was the saddest day of my career, was the last game in 1976, because we all knew we were going different directions. The whole nucleus of that team was gone.
Realistically, I mean, not everybody is always going to stay with a team. That's just a reality. But if you do keep the core and add to the core, how much more do you think you guys could have won?
Well, we were all basically right around 30 years of age. I mean, we were right in the middle of our career. Everybody, Reggie and Sal and Campaneris, Dick Green, Joe Rudy, Fosse. I mean, that was the nucleus of that ball club. And if we could have stayed together, we were just getting good. And I think we could have probably won maybe another 2 or 3 world championships, keeping Catfish, and keeping Holtzman. But Charlie just got rid of everybody. And if we would have stayed together, I think we could have done some great things.
By the way, is the mustache one of the greatest things you ever came up with?
Oh, it was the stupidest and the greatest, I was just being stupid. We started growing mustaches in '72, and everybody was just growing a regular mustache. I said, what the heck? I'm going to do a handlebar. So I started doing a handlebar, and I started getting guys out. So when you get guys out and you got a handlebar mustache, you keep it. And then all of a sudden, bang, we're in the World Series. I got the handlebar mustache. Now everybody recognizes me. Then we go to '73, got the handlebar. '74, I got the handlebar. I can't cut this thing off. It's my lucky charm. So I've had it ever since. Never had it off.
Well, I got to tell you, we'll end on this. During COVID, we basically started replaying the World Series games. And it was Ken Korak and Ray Fosse and I would do like a pregame show leading in. And it was one of the things that Ray really stressed with us is watch the volume that Raleigh pitches and the greatness that is Raleigh Fingers. And, looking back, we try to teach a lot of our young fans that, you just didn't come in for the 9th inning for 3 outs. And the volume that, I mean, what a guy would be like you would be worth today, someone who could be so good for so much. But just wanting you to know that it was really Ray Fosse that wanted all of our young fans to truly know what you meant to this organization.
Well, I loved Ray. He was a great catcher. It was a shame what happened to him, but I loved throwing to him. From 73, 4, 5, and 6, I pitched to him, and he knew how to catch. He knew hitters, he knew weaknesses, and usually if he stuck fingers down, I threw him. If I shook him off, he would come back with the same pitch, and I said, well, maybe he sees something that I don't. So I usually stayed with what Ray called, but he was a heck of a catcher. Hard-nosed guy back there, too. He had a lot of injuries, but he always fought back.
Well, it's great to have you on the program again. Enjoy this celebration with your guys because we're celebrating truly one of the greatest teams of all time.
All right, well, thanks a lot. Enjoyed it.
Raleigh Fingers. The dumbest thing and the smartest thing, the mustache. Who would have ever thought that growing a mustache would be a trademark and would make you money? I know, obviously, Charlie Finley was paying those guys to grow facial hair and mustaches, but it'd be your signature thing that you'd carry throughout the rest of your life, and he'll have that till the day he dies.
I say, yeah, he still has it. I was there to see it.
I'm just happy you showed up and all the hard work you did on that day.
72, the square, what was it?
Hairs
versus the squares.
Hairs versus the squares.
Yeah, that was a good World Series. Reds went on a nice little run after that.
What do you remember from that World Series?
Wasn't there a play where someone got taken out at second base?
Your parents weren't even married at the time.
My dad would have been like 12. No. My dad would have been 11.
That's what was cool that we, with the season ticket holders, the people that did watch that team and had like the questions about it. I mean, it was really cool. Hey, what about this game? And, when in the ALCS are asking questions about, against Detroit in the ALCS. I don't know. I was a baby.
Yeah. I wasn't even a thought in my parents' mind yet.
I wasn't even one. I was a couple months. What? April, May, June, July, August, September, October. I would have been 7 months old. 7 months old during that. 7 months old I would have been during that.
You don't remember
World
Raleigh
Series.
coming in to pitch multiple
You're damn right. I was keeping score from my crib. I'm like Dave Feldman. I remember everything. Oh, yeah. I remember 73. I was 1 year old. I remember that. And then when I was 2 years old, oh, yeah, the 74 World Series, I really got angry. And then, do you remember the Big Red Machine in 75? Yeah, at 4 years old, no.
Yeah, I was watching it.
Then the next year, that's after the Red Sox. The next year, that's when Sparky Anderson goes into New York, and they're asking about the comparison between Johnny Bench and Thurman Munson. And Sparky Anderson goes, hey, no offense to Thurman Munson, but if you're comparing Thurman Munson to Johnny Bench, that's a joke. Pissed everybody off in New York. Go read about that. Sparky was just being honest. Like, you can't compare Thurman Munson to Johnny Bench. Are you kidding me? Got everybody angry. You can't. What does he say? Thurman Munson. And what did their Big Red Machine do? Swept the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah, see ya.
By the way, this is always good. Do you think Thurman Munson should be in the Hall of Fame?
I would say right out of the gate, no. No offense. I mean, once again, I didn't watch a whole heck of a lot of Thurman Munson's career. What year did he die?
Can't remember what year he died.
Yeah, he died in 79. So, I mean, come on. I was what, 7 years old? 11 years. I mean, he was an MVP, but I mean, I look at the numbers and I go, why do you? You think so?
I do, but I'm letting you know that Tom Hamilton's here.
Oh, Tom's here? Okay, sorry. I'm looking at Thurman Munson. Tom, how are you? It's great to see you again. It's been a while.
Good to see you guys. How are all of you guys doing?
Well, you know what? It is. It's kind of just great to be back in business. It's good to see you, and knowing that we're getting back to more normal here as the Athletics going to be taking on the Cleveland Guardians. And we saw you out west here, but now we're going to be there. But just to hear your voice, and so for a lot of our fans are able to watch the program now. It's just it's great. We're getting back to a little bit, if we can call it, normalcy.
Yeah, thanks. I agree, Chris, because I guess this is our new normal, isn't it? I mean, we're going to deal with COVID maybe from now until eternity. I know our ball club has. We've already had one game canceled because of a COVID outbreak that has to be made up. And I think we're going to see this going forward. Teams are going to be hit off and on with COVID outbreaks, just like everybody else in our society. So I think you're just going to have the ability to fight through it, and hopefully you don't have a lot of players out at the same time, because it certainly could impact some pennant races if we're talking about September in particular.
I always like to tell people the last time that I was in Cleveland with the ball club, my man Ray Fosse right here, you see the sign. Ray was like, Townie, we got to go out to Heritage Park. So Ray and I walked all the way out there right by Bob Feller, and we went right to Ray's plaque, and it's right next to Dwayne Kuiper, who everybody knows here in the Bay Area. And I did an interview with Ray for the pregame show from his plaque. He was so proud. Obviously one of the great Cleveland Indians. And when he was in Cleveland, I mean, when we got off the bus, everybody was there with all the fans with Ray. They had no idea who our players were, but they know Ray Fosse. Ray Fosse signed all the autographs. Ray was a big deal in Cleveland. I got to think it's really odd for the Athletics to be in Cleveland and no Ray Fosse.
Well, it certainly is. And it was odd coming to the Bay Area when we did back in April. And I mean, that's one of the things I most looked forward to was visiting with Ray. We would talk usually a couple of times in the off season by phone. And, that's a big void in everybody's life. But I feel like one of the fortunate ones that got to know Ray and call him a friend. And I think, there's the thing, Chris, about Ray. I think everybody felt like they were his friend, because Ray always made you feel like you were a big deal or a friend of his. And he's just one of the most welcoming people I'd ever met. Never bitter about what happened in his career, because let's face it, and again, depending on how old you are, I'm old enough to remember Ray playing. I mean, he was the American League's Johnny Bench. Yeah. And, until that critical injury with Pete Rose in the All-Star game, and then talk about tough, you play with a broken shoulder the second half of the year. I mean, we've got guys on the DL now with soreness of certain body parts, and this guy played with a broken shoulder, and it obviously changed his career, but he still had a tremendous career, and obviously was a key component on those World Series teams in Oakland. But I think this was always a very special place for him. He never would have been traded, I don't think, had it not been for the injury, and his career maybe not quite being the same offensively. But back in those days, it sounded like Cleveland was trading anybody that was any good. They were in a perpetual rebuild. But I'm glad for Ray that he had such a great career. And I know how important Cleveland was to him, but I also know how important the Oakland A's were to Ray. He was really proud as a broadcaster and a player to be an Oakland A.
Yeah, there's no doubt about his love for Cleveland. He would talk about the house that he had in Cleveland. He never wanted to sell it. I mean, Cleveland meant a lot to him because it's where he grew up as a young man and became Ray Fosse. Yep, and I think about players that do love Cleveland. And one guy that we've had a lot on now, and we love Sandy Alomar Jr. Yep. We had him on back when we were on the field in Oakland. I think Jose Ramirez now leading baseball in RBIs and re-signing there. He loves playing there. I mean, there's something about I think it's pretty cool that the players that love Cleveland end up sticking around and being a part of this great franchise.
Yeah, I agree. I wish there were more of them, because we've had a lot of great ones that left here as free agents or were traded because they knew they wouldn't be able to get the top dollar. But I guess we could say that almost about every franchise now, with the exception of a handful. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if the Yankees or the Dodgers or Boston want you, they're going to pay way more than anybody else can afford. And so the players have earned that right. But to your point, yeah, for Sandy Alomar, he's always said, even as a coach, it wouldn't mean the same for him to win a World Series with another organization as it would for him to win it here in Cleveland. And, you mentioned it. I mean, Jose Ramirez, he left money on the table. Now, he's still handsomely paid. But again, if he wanted to go out on the open market, he gets more money. We know that. But for him, it was all about a comfort level of playing here and a no-trade clause. And, how many times now do we see guys go, okay, I've got a 10-year contract, but I want an out clause after 2 years if I change my mind, which is, to me, just bogus that anybody agrees to that. And all Jose wanted was the security and a no-trade clause. And so we're the lucky ones. We get to watch him for 7 years. And I'll tell you what, he's having as good a year as anybody I can remember here in Cleveland, probably since Manny Ramirez, when he had 165 RBIs in 1999.
It was probably like your original contract with the Big Ten Network in case like SEC came after you,
yeah,
or Pac-12 came after you, or the Big 12. You had to have that protection with the Big Ten.
Yeah, right. But the only protection I have with the Big Ten is that they got me a hotel room. So I was happy to do Big Ten basketball for 25 years, grew up watching it, loved it. Yeah. And I've been a very fortunate and very blessed guy to have a Major League Baseball career and be lucky enough to do the Big Ten.
Now, you talk about all these great players that have come through Cleveland. I mean, it's truly amazing the amount of talent. Where does Jose Ramirez, when you start talking about Manny Ramirez or Jim Thome or Roberto Alomar, you look at that team that you guys had there that went to the World Series multiple times and just had so many tremendous players. When you look at it, I mean, there's been so many Indian greats, or should just say now Guardian greats. Where's Jose Ramirez in that conversation?
Yeah, that's really a great question. And I think we have to see it play out. I will say this, and I don't want it to sound like I'm denigrating Francisco Lindor. Jose Ramirez was a better player.
Yeah.
And the numbers would prove that. Now, Frankie was an incredible player when he was here. And he had that magnetic personality, that $1 million smile, and much more comfortable with the English language. And that's typical of somebody that grew up in Puerto Rico, but then moved to this country when he was 12. So Francisco Lindor, I think, was much more comfortable as far as around the media and the limelight, and rightfully so, got a lot of praise and notoriety for as good a player as he is. But quietly in the background, Jose Ramirez was putting up better numbers. And, it continues to this day. But that's okay with Jose. He is still very good friends with Frankie. He's never wanted to be that guy that, the media is going to after every game. He's not interested in endorsements. He wants to play baseball. And that's why he stayed here. He's very comfortable in Cleveland. And he was saying, I've seen a lot of players leave and go to markets where they weren't comfortable, and it impacted their performance. I think what says it all about Jose, one of our hitting coaches says, within 2 weeks after the season ends, whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, he's getting video from Jose Ramirez from his home in the Dominican, where he has his own elaborate batting cage, people to throw to him, pitching machines. That's within 2 weeks at the end of the season. He's already working on hitting for the next year. And so his work ethic is second to none. It's all about baseball with Jose Ramirez. And gosh, and I don't want to start leaving people out, but my first year was 90. And I mean, if you're going to talk about best all around players here in Cleveland, Jose Ramirez is on that Mount Rushmore, because I don't think the other thing he gets enough credit for is, one, he's one of the best and most intelligent base runners in the game. He's one of the most intelligent baseball people in the game, the way he observes everything. And he's a Gold Glove caliber third baseman. Now, unfortunately for him, there was a guy named Matt Chapman in Oakland that was getting Gold Gloves, and rightfully so. But Jose is that kind of a defender at third base. And so when you talk about the whole package, man, like I say, he's one of the top 4 or 5 guys that I have seen in my 33 years here. And again, we've been pretty blessed with Jim Thome and Manny Ramirez. And, I just thought Kenny Lofton was a game changer. Grady Sizemore, before injuries short-circuited his career, he was about as good a player as there was in the game. And we've had others, and I don't want to start leaving people out, but I don't know who you could put above Jose Ramirez. And now I think the biggest thing is he's got a chance to play his whole career here. We haven't had that with any of those other guys I mentioned.
Filling out my scorebook and getting ready for today's game, I know that we've played a lot of games, and this is game 59 for us. I notice you guys have played, 52? So do you have, coming up, a bunch of double headers? I know you've as you mentioned, missed a game because of COVID. Do you have a lot of double dips coming up? Because I noticed that you're a little bit behind us in games played.
Well, we've only had 9 cancellations. So 1 was COVID, the other 8 were weather, and 7 of the rainouts were here in Cleveland. We have had the worst spring, again, in my 33 years in Cleveland. There isn't anything close to it. And, we got rained out Monday night, played a doubleheader on Tuesday. Last night, our game took 2 hours and 7 minutes to play, but the rain delays were 2 hours and 7 minutes, the exact same amount of time. We've played 4 doubleheaders. We have 5 more coming. And that doesn't say anything about the off days that have been taken away because you had a common off day, and so you played a game that had been postponed. So to your point, we're 1 game behind Minnesota in the loss column, and we're 4 games out of first because of the few amount of games, as you pointed out, that we have played. So Tito wishes we had 7-inning doubleheaders because this is really taking a toll on your pitching staff. But it is what it is. The fear here is that you have any more because you're just running out of places to play these kind of games. And it really does impact your ball club because a lot of times you're pitching people that probably shouldn't be here, but you had to bring somebody up.
So with all that said, though, to kind of keep this on a positive note, 26-26, just a little past the, the third of the season here. Yep. That's not that bad.
I agree. I really agree. And we've had injuries, but you know what? Everybody has injuries, and you just can't keep using that as an excuse. That's part of the game. But I think the other thing that probably doesn't get talked about much, this is the 5th youngest team in baseball in the last 30 years. So it's an extremely young ball club that might get younger based on who they've got coming up in the minor leagues. So I think, to your point, to be a 500 ball club going through all of this and be this young, I think bodes well for the ball club. They're not a believer here. And again, I'm not, and I don't want anybody to think I'm taking shots at Oakland or, any other ball club that's done it a different way. That's not my point. The point being here is they don't feel that they could afford to lose a fan base for 5 years by saying, we're going to tear it down to the studs. We're going to start over. We're going to get all these high draft picks and hope this thing comes together. They're trying to almost, I don't know if rebuild is the right word. Transition might be a better word, where you're not going all kids, and we'll see if it works out, because what we have seen in the past usually is a tear down and it takes a while to get back. But last year was part of the first year of the transition, and they were 80-82. And to your point, they're 500 this year, and they've got a chance to be a 500 ball club or a little bit better. We'll see. But I think it does bode pretty well for this year and for the future. Again, they're still missing some pieces. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna here, but at least you've got relevant baseball. And in all honesty, our division this year is awful. And there's no other way to put it. Minnesota's in first place. I don't think they have enough pitching. I still think Chicago on paper is the best ball club, but gosh, they're like minus 50, minus 60 run differential, which
Yes,
that's not good. And when we've played them, it kind of looks like they're bored. And it's like, what have you ever won to be bored? Like, you haven't won anything yet. So I still keep waiting for Chicago to kind of kick it in gear. I think Detroit and Kansas City have been disappointing because, to my point, you tear it down, there's no magic formula for when this will all come together when you do a complete teardown, and it takes a while for young kids to get comfortable.
Yeah, it's great point on Chicago. Like, what are they? They're losing right now at home to the Dodgers 10-7, and they're under 500. There's been people who've speculated that if they stay where they are, they could be trading, not adding at the deadline. I'm thinking, wait a minute, Tony La Russa, Jerry Reinsdorf, their ages. What's going on in Chicago? This was supposed to be all in World Series or bust. That's why you brought Tony in. It just doesn't. It's not the recipe, the soup. It's just not working. It just seems odd, and you'll know better than us.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes it's hard to put your finger on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you're like, why isn't this club better? But whoever it was, Dennis Green or whoever, your record is who you are. And, this is who they are right now. Now, I still think they can kick it. Well, I think where Chicago's really lucky is there's nobody else in the division that is a dominant team that could have run away from the pack and hidden. As well as Minnesota has played, and give credit to the Twins, they've had a heck of a bounce back year. I don't think anybody looks at them and goes, oh, can't catch them. Last year, you looked at the White Sox and you went, there's nobody else in this division that's going to catch them. They're heads and shoulders above the rest of the division. And they won the division going away. They kind of puttered around in the second half. And it's almost the way they played the second half is the way they've played the first half this year. Almost like, you know what? And again, I'm speaking maybe out of turn because I'm not with them every day. But it's almost like, yeah, we'll turn it on. We'll turn it on. And I know they've had a lot of injuries, but as I just said, with our club and with everybody else, everybody has injuries. That's part of the game. We could have won a World Series in 2016 with Michael Brantley, Carlos Carrasco, Danny Salazar, and Trevor Bauer if they'd have been healthy. But you know what? Cubs got the parade, and we've got the excuses. So that's just kind of the way it is. And so I think this division is really up for grabs. But I also don't think it's a division where whoever wins it is going to have a deep October run.
I know you get to talk to Tito a lot, and obviously everywhere he goes, he's so beloved. He's one of the nicest men you'll ever meet in our game. How is he doing? How's his health?
It's way better than it has been. As Tito said, hey, I can put two shoes on for the first time in 2 years. So that's literally a step forward. But, he's doing pretty darn good. And it's just it's incredible to have him back in our dugout. I just think he creates a culture. The guys like Bob Melvin, like Tito Francona, guys like that win year in and year out, where they don't have a $200 or a $300 million payroll. Those are the guys that show you they can really manage. Those are the guys that make a difference in your dugout. And I know Tito is a mammoth fan of Mark Kotsay. He thinks he's going to be a great manager. But I'm just saying, the guys like Tito, it's not an accident that we've been a relevant baseball team since he took over in 2013. He works well with the front office. We have a terrific front office. But I think it's old school and new school. You've got the analytics, but you've got the baseball guy that they've got to pay attention to. And otherwise, why do you have Tito here? I think it's really a good checks and balances, and it gives you the best of both worlds. And I think he's as good a manager as our game has ever seen. And you win 2 World Series in Boston and then get fired? And then you come to Cleveland and make them a winner every year and come, within an out or two of winning a World Series. He's a Hall of Famer.
Well, it's always great that he's back in the dugout because he truly is. He's one of the great ones. Hey, it's always a pleasure to have you on, especially before a game. You're one of the legendary voices in our game. You make our program better. Thank you so much. Be well, and let's talk again later this season.
I love to. It was a treat to be with you. Love your show and keep up the great work. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Tom.
All right, take care.
Tom Hamilton of the Cleveland Indians, one of the best. Swung on and belted. He's got great home run calls.
He does, and
he'll be a Ford C. Frick Award winner.
Yeah, I mean, he's with the team since 1990, so that'd be 32 years. This would be his 32nd year. I've always enjoyed his home run calls. I've always enjoyed just his enthusiasm for the game. Like, you could hear him in the press box when he's yelling home run calls in Oakland.
Swung on and belted.
He's been to the. He's right. That Indians team, now Guardians, but the Indians back then, they were so close to winning that World Series in 2016.
What about 97?
That year too.
Is that still too early for you?
No, that team was really good.
Extra innings in the 7th game of the World Series
with the Edgar Renteria walk-off,
and they played the Braves in 95.
Yeah, those teams were so stacked.
Philly. Your Phillies, you're a Pennsylvania guy.
Oh yeah, the Pirates lost to Detroit. I'm jumping off the ship.
Your Phillies are up 6-2 in the top of the 9th inning to win 7 in a row. Break up the fightins.
Joe Girardi was the issue, huh?
George Girardi gone. They're now we're winners again.
What about the Angels? I thought Joe Madden was the problem.
They're not playing right now.
I know, but
Dodgers about to beat the White Sox 10-7, and that's in the top of the 9th inning. White Sox will be 26-29.
That's not good.
How are things going for our buddy Tony La Russa?
That's my friend. I should probably reach out and see how he's doing.
Maybe you need to help him out.
Yeah, I just saw today Eloy Jimenez was supposed to be coming back soon. He just had to step back in his rehab process because of leg soreness, so he's going to be out longer.
Tom Hamilton has said it best. They play like it's, you know how like teams can coast through the season and it's all about the postseason. What have they won that they feel that they can, we're fine. We got the talent. We'll turn it on. We'll make it happen. We've done this before. Really win.
Yeah. Let's see. You lost in 2020 to the A's in the first round,
which was the COVID year, and everybody made the playoffs, it seemed like.
Last year, you lost in the first round again, I believe.
I mean, what have they done to have this? We got all this talent. We got all that. We'll just cruise. And here you are, Bomba Squad. Minnesota still leads the division. They're 5 games up on the White Sox. Now could potentially be 6, and the the Guardians are 4 games back. They've only played 52 games. This is game 53 for them.
Yeah, that's
it's crazy.
COVID related, and as someone that's from the Midwest, the weather there is awful.
You remind me of the Midwest.
It's the weather there in April and May is awful. They're saying April showers bring May flowers. That statement is true in Pennsylvania and in Ohio.
Their weather always sucks. When is it good?
Well, in the summer,
summer it's hot and humid, and they got
it was like that the other day.
The midgies, or what are those bugs called that are all in the lights? They're not moths or midgies, or remember Jabba Chamberlain had them all over him in the playoff game.
Those aren't gnats. They're
midgies.
Let's see what they're called.
I believe they're called. Put in midgies and Jabba Chamberlain. I'd never heard what they were, but I remember I was on the air when it was happening, and we looked it up.
Yeah, midges.
Midgies. They're called midgies if you're from the Midwest like I am.
Yeah, never heard that before.
From the great state of Ohio, they're all midgies. There's bugs everywhere. It's humid. It's awful.
That's the first time I heard Jabba Chamberlain's name mentioned in a long time.
Oh God! Whenever I've been in the great state of Ohio, whether it's Columbus, whether it's Cleveland, or it's the Natty, as they like to call it in Cincinnati, the weather stinks. It's either freezing cold or it's humid and it's nasty. I've never been to Ohio when it's nice. I do not believe, and I've been there in all different types of the year. Ohio, I could do without Ohio.
You had to bring up Jabba. You had to bring up the Yankees at some point today, didn't you? You always have to force in the Yankees.
Wait a minute. He didn't always play with the Yankees.
But that's why everyone remembers him as the Yankee.
Wasn't he an Indian?
Everyone remembers him as the Yankee, though.
I bring up Jabba Chamberlain as he pitched for
Brewer
Detroit.
Brewer legend.
As a Tiger legend. Jabba.
I remember him as a Yankee. I think the midges.
You know what? I think, when I pull out my jerseys that I have of my favorite players, I pull out my Kansas City Royal Jabba Chamberlain jersey.
That's a good one. I don't remember him playing for anyone besides the Yankees and Detroit. I don't remember him being on Cleveland or Kansas City. Apparently, he just loved the AL Central.
Hey, he's a World Series champion.
Does he want to come back and play for the Twins so he can, go for every team in that division?
I do not want to go over the article because I think it's embarrassing. But where we are now after this is our 59th game, the Athletics, we've been outscored in our losing streak 49-14. 8 straight, losers of 11 of 12. We will have to have an all-star.
That is very true.
And it was at a point where you thought Danny Jimenez would be the easy pick, but that's not so much. They have an article today on MLB.com. Who would be our all-star?
I looked at the article to see who it would be.
I did not want to look at it because I wanted to say I didn't read that article because I think it's embarrassing. But I wanted you to read it, and I want to ask you. All right, I'm looking. I got my book ready to go. I mean, who is going to represent? Where is it? It's Dodger Stadium, right?
Yep. LA.
Who's going to be in LA at Chavez Ravine representing the green and gold?
Okay, so we're going to exclude. Well, the article says Elvis should be the A's All-Star.
Elvis is going to be our All-Star. Oh,
what was the title of the article again? It was
Everybody's Got to Have One.
Well, it's going to be Frankie or Paul Blackburn, most likely, right? One guy on each team worth an all-star vote, and they had Elvis in there for the A's.
I mean, can you imagine putting the numbers for Elvis? I mean, for Frankie up on the board at an all-star game? We've lost his last, 9 starts?
Yes, 8 or 9, yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. You want to put up
really?
Elvis Andrews is hitting 240, which is a bounce back for him. 3 homers, 11 RBI, 3 steals. He does have, what's that OPS plus say to you?
100.
He's at league average.
He's a hundo.
It's a nice bounce back here for Elvis.
Okay, today is the 9th of June?
Correct.
So we still got, when do they name? Because the All-Star game is a week later this year.
Yeah,
so it's actually July. Instead of when they the Midsummer Classic, they've really pushed it to Midsummer. It's July 19th, right?
Yes. The starters are announced on July 8th.
So basically you got a month.
Yeah. Pack the ballot boxes. Do we still do that? Or it's all online now.
Talk about stuff in the ballot box.
Yeah.
I voted online 8,000 times. Like what?
You want a couple stats for you?
I'm gonna give you. What about Ramon?
I don't think it's enough games played yet.
I don't care. He's got a month. That's what I'm saying.
It's gonna be Frankie
He's got a month. What about if Ramon continues longest hitting streak in baseball at 12, gets a hit tonight? That makes it 13 for you math majors. If he keeps hitting and he gets his average is up to 268. We got to have somebody. Let's say he continues on this run. You got to have somebody, the one guy that has actually legit. Obviously, outfield's tough to get into the All-Star game. But if you got to have one, and none of your pitchers deserve it, because right now no one's been throwing the ball well. And by the way, you're on the board today, Cap. Cap's 0-3 with a 6.06 ERA. A couple starts ago, remember he threw all fastballs to the Rangers? It took going through the lineup and then to Seager the second time around for him to finally throw a breaking ball. I don't know what he was trying to prove, but I'm telling you right now, Cap, Caprellian has got a 6 ERA.
Not good.
Not good. And none of that. I don't care. You missed some time. Right now, you got a 6 ERA. You got to start throwing the ball well.
Yeah. You want? Let me give you, and I still think it's gonna be Frankie or Blackburn as the All-Star as of right now.
You're gonna have Frankie up there with a 3-something ERA, and the A's haven't won any of his starts.
Have to have an All-Star.
That's why I'm making a case for Ramon right now.
I mean, I'd like to see a position player get it, but I just don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a pitcher. It's easier for them to put a pitcher or relief pitcher.
I get it, but if you don't have anybody,
if you're going to pick anyone from the lineup, yes, I would say Ramon if he stays hot. But I'm going to stick with Frankie or Blackburn. Give you a couple stats.
But you're going right now. My point is we have a month. In a month now, if you've got X amount of home runs, his batting average is up close to 300. I mean, he'd be the easy choice. He's got a month to get those numbers even higher.
Yes, he does.
And these pitchers got another month to see their numbers go down.
Or vice versa for both. His numbers could stay the same or go down. And
that's not my argument. My argument is they're going to go down. He's going up. I'm getting Frankie to Chavez Ravine.
Frankie or
I don't know. I mean, I'm getting the Razor. The Razor. I don't know what you have against Razor, the Laser.
I was
about to say Razor Ramon, the bad guy.
Rest in peace.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Let me give you a couple of these real quick. The A's have scored 2 runs or less in how many games this year?
A lot.
28. They've scored 3 runs or less in 32 games.
28 of the
58 games. They've scored 2 runs or less. I looked it up today. They're 6-23 versus teams 500 or better.
And 28 of 58, 2 runs or less. Wow.
And they're, as of what the website told me, MLB.com, the A's are 6-23 versus teams 500 or better. Wow. So there you go. Positivity on the show.
Yeah,
they are.
Way to bring us down.
Hey, you did have the stats with the left hand. They are much better versus left-handed starters.
What does he do?
Gets on base.
That's all you care about, right? Do I care how he gets on base?
You do not.
Quoting Moneyball, the A's have the worst on-base percentage against righties at 267, but not against lefties.
Why do you like him?
Because he gets on base.
Well, the A's are 25th in on-base percentage against left-handed pitchers. Aha! So you're saying there's a chance. We want to thank Howard Bryant, Raleigh Fingers, Tom Hamilton for all coming on A's Cast Live. Coming up next is what?
I was going to play some commercial spots. We only have a few minutes.
And then we'll have A's Total Access brought to you by Chevron. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll have A's pregame coming up in just moments.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are